How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Josh here, and welcome back to another episode of the Kayfabe Central podcast and another episode of the Friday Night SmackDown post-show review. I apologize if anybody was waiting in the live. I was having some technical difficulties because I've recently been trying to use OBS to do these lives and do some other content with the podcast. And I have just not been able to figure out OBS yet. So I still have to play around with that a little bit and figure out how to use that properly because I was just clamoring for like the past half hour to figure out how to use it. So, we're just using YouTube Studio to go live once again tonight. So I apologize if anybody was waiting. It doesn't seem like it. So that's good. At least I didn't keep people waiting for too long because I had scheduled the live for 10:30 and it is now 10:45. And that entire time I was just trying to figure out how to use OBS just to give up. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this tonight. I will figure this out after the live. I'm just going to use YouTube Studio to go live. Same deal. You guys come here to listen to me talk about wrestling anyway. I'm just very picky sometimes on how my setup is and, what it looks like. And I've been trying to just differ how the podcasts look, visually, but clearly that's going to take a lot more work than I have energy tonight. So we're just using YouTube Studio. But welcome back to the Kayfabe Central podcast. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. If you are returning, you know how this works. We break down everything that happened on the show, from the match results to the segments, all that good stuff. I break down here on the post show. We are going over Friday Night SmackDown on December 12th, 2025. Wrapped up like 45 minutes ago. Usually I do the post shows pretty much right after, but like I said, I was struggling with setup and all that stuff. So we are here. If you're watching this after the fact, then this doesn't affect you at all. But if you are joining in live, then I apologize for the late start because I did advertise this for 10:30. But I am here now. We are going to be talking about Friday Night SmackDown. Before we get into that, though, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Don't subscribe to the Kayfabe Central Ko-Fi page because I haven't promoted that. I apologize. My brain is just fried. I've been all over the place all day. Even on the headlines earlier today, I was just all over the place. Check out the Kayfabe Central website is what I meant to tell you guys to do. That's where I post all my coverage posts, articles, written predictions, all that good stuff is over there on the Kayfabe Central website. So go ahead and check that stuff out. Also check out the Kayfabe Central Discord server. If you're in the Discord server, you can chat it up about Saturday night's main event that's happening tomorrow. If you didn't see my Saturday night's main event predictions, then go ahead and check that out. I did that with Lolly Holland. We went over all the matches. All the 4 matches, that is, for Saturday night's main event. And we broke down our thoughts on it. So if you haven't gone and checked that out, make sure you guys go check that stuff out. But with that being said, I am going to dive into Friday Night SmackDown. I'm not going to waste too much more time because it is getting late for me as well. So we're going to dive straight into it. Cody Rhodes entered the building. He arrived to the arena. He was greeted by Nick Aldis, who told, Cody Rhodes asked Nick Aldis if Drew McIntyre is here. Because at the start of the show, they played this clip where Nick Aldis said he was open to having Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, but Drew McIntyre didn't return his calls, didn't return his text, nothing like that. Drew McIntyre was not having it, and we found out that it is because Drew McIntyre has gotten his attorney involved and claimed SmackDown to be an unsafe work environment. I think Drew chose the wrong profession if he's worried about an unsafe work environment. Definitely the wrong profession to be in if you're worried about that kind of thing. Obviously, they're just trying to throw anything into the story to drag it out for as long as they can, because this is more than likely getting dragged out to the Rumble. I don't see any other place that they do this. Obviously, they're SmackDown guys, so it wouldn't happen on the Raw premiere unless they do it on, the 1-year anniversary of Netflix, unless they do it on the uh, first SmackDown of 2026, which is the 3-hour episode of SmackDown. Again, ridiculous that they're going to 3 hours, and they promoted it on their show of it just being like this big and fantastic thing, when in reality it's not good. And I don't have faith that they can provide solid TV within 3 hours, because they have proven that they cannot before. So, not excited for that. But with that being said, Cody Rhodes crumpled up the paper of Drew's complaint and threw it on the ground and made his way out to the ring. He pretty much just did his little Cody Rhodes thing, hyped up the crowd, cheap pop, as some would say, and talked about Drew McIntyre a little bit. Now, my hope came true for this episode of SmackDown, and Femi arrived on Friday Night SmackDown for the first time and confronted Cody Rhodes. They had a very cool stare down. I was very relieved that this crowd knew who Femi was. When they were doing the chant, when he was walking to the ring, when they were chanting Oba, this was awesome, man. And this is a guy that needs to be called up to the main roster really soon before, the hype dies down, because sometimes that is the case. And I don't think that'll necessarily be the case with Oba. I think Oba is just great overall, and he'll be perfectly fine. But he comes out to a great ovation in Pennsylvania and stares down Cody Rhodes and says exactly what he needed to say. He said that Cody Rhodes is worried about the wrong person. He shouldn't be worried about Drew McIntyre. He should be worried about Femi, because he is the ruler and he is the destroyer. Femi is just so good on the mic. He always knows how to deliver on the microphone. And yeah, this was great. It was what it needed to be. Femi came out. He made a very valid point and said, Cody, you're worried about the wrong person. You're out here talking about Drew McIntyre when you have a match against me tomorrow. So, yeah, Femi makes complete sense. And that was it. That was the promo. And that's all it needed to be. I'm glad this didn't end up being this, huge, long promo, because there were a few segments on the show that did go a little longer than it should have. So this was fine. Speaking of segments that went on longer than they should have, following that was a backstage segment where Fraxium approaches Ilya Dragunov, who is getting ready for his United States Championship match against Tommaso Ciampa. And Fraxium tells Ilya that if DIY gets involved in your match, then we will have your back. And Ilya Dragunov says, thank you, but no thank you. When I won this United States Championship, I promised to keep its honor and its respect. So even if it's the hard way, I will do it. And that was just the gist of it. Ilya went on to ramble a little bit longer, cut an entire promo backstage just talking to Fraxium, and Fraxium was just standing there like, oh, okay, buddy. All right. You do you, man. And then they just walked away like, okay, what's wrong with that guy? They didn't actually say that, but I can imagine that's, what was going through their mind. That led us to the United States Championship match between Ilya Dragunov and Tommaso Ciampa, where Ilya Dragunov defeats Tommaso Ciampa to retain the U.S. title. Great match. Very hard-hitting match, as you can expect with two people like Ilya Dragunov and Tommaso Ciampa. This was good. This was all around good. Obviously, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae did get involved, where we got a big near fall. Johnny Gargano hopped on the entrance side of the apron, and Candice LeRae hopped on the announcer side of the apron and attacked Ilya Dragunov while the ref's back was turned, dealing with Johnny Gargano. Tommaso Ciampa hits a big knee and gets a near fall, a 2.99, if you will. So, yeah, it eventually ended with Ilya. He was bleeding. He was beaten up. Tommaso Ciampa targets the knee of Ilya Dragunov, and they made it a very big commentary point that they didn't actually say the term baby faces because, they wouldn't. But they pretty much said all of the baby faces that Ilya Dragunov has fought, because that's mainly who he has fought, is baby faces. They've had respect for Ilya Dragunov, so they haven't targeted the knee. And they made it a point that, Tommaso Ciampa is the first one to actually target the knee of Ilya Dragunov. And so that was the vocal point of this match, that Tommaso Ciampa was attacking the knee of Ilya Dragunov. And it makes sense for somebody like Tommaso Ciampa to do something like that. It wouldn't have made sense for a babyface to attack the knee, which is completely fine. But that was a very good point that they brought up on commentary, because I really had to think. I'm like, nobody has attacked his knee, which is very interesting. But again, he's faced mainly baby faces, so nobody is really going to. And Tommaso Ciampa is that sick, sadistic individual that will do anything it takes to win a title or win a match. So all around great match from Tommaso Ciampa and Ilya Dragunov. I enjoyed this a lot. It was a great way to kick off the night. And that's one thing before I continue with this episode of SmackDown and everything else that happened. This show started off good, and then it just slowly went downhill. Because I liked the Cody Rhodes and Oba Femi segment, and I liked this match to, open, for the first match of the night. And then from here, it just kind of went downwards, and nothing else was really that interesting. We had a backstage segment. Javon Evans was with Kathy Kelly. I was very surprised to see Javon here. But, I'm all for it. Give these guys more TV time. Guys like Oba Femi, guys like Javon Evans. For a second, I was expecting Leon Slater to appear in this interview, but he was not here. So it was just Javon Evans, who was interrupted by The Miz. The Miz walks up and says he should have been on Saturday night's main event instead of this kid, referring to Javon Evans. And they go back and forth a little bit. That eventually sets up a match later in the night between The Miz and Javon Evans. A little thing here, and I know it doesn't necessarily matter. At no point after this segment did we get, a match graphic or Nick Aldis backstage saying, this match has been made official between Javon Evans versus The Miz. We're just, we just have to assume that it is. And we all know that's, going to end up being the case anyway. But I kind of like when they do that, when they're like, this is made official for tonight. And, that way it's like, okay, now I can actually write it down on the website, and it's not just, I still write it down on the website anyway, but I feel like that it just adds something. It adds, if you really want to go down this, route of everything goes through Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis has to make it official. Then just have a little thing where he's either in the back, be like on the phone, and be like, oh, yeah, Miz versus Javon Evans is official, or they just show the match graphic and be like, general manager Nick Aldis has made this match official for later tonight. Literally something like that is completely fine. Because I think it helps if, somebody tunes into the show late and, they turn on the TV and one of the first things they see is the Miz versus Javon Evans. Maybe that entices somebody. Maybe somebody sees that, like, oh, wow, okay. So I think they should do that more often with these segments and impromptu matches. We then had a promo from the Wyatt Six that I could care less about. The Wyatt Six come out, and Uncle Howdy, a.k.a. Bo Dallas, cuts a promo about the MFTs and Solo Sikoa and says a whole bunch of nothing, to be honest. He comes out and says that the MFTs don't run SmackDown. That's going to be a problem. I don't even remember what he said word for word because I was just not interested in this. I haven't been interested in this entire Wyatt Six and MFT storyline. It's just not been good. But he says, the MFTs don't run SmackDown, and he puts the tag titles on the floor, or at least Gacy and Loomis put the tag titles on the mat in front of Howdy and says, I dare the MFTs to come out here and take these titles. The MFTs then appear on the Titantron in this, like, your typical Solo and MFT setup where Solo's sitting at the table with his hands clasped together and the MFT surrounding him, kind of like a mafia type setting. We lose the Don, Tony D'Angelo, but we still have Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. And Solo says, we're not going to do this on your time. We're going to do this on my time. Which, in a way, if I'm going to add some positive flair to any of this, with Solo Sikoa and the MFT saying they run SmackDown, them doing this not only is, your typical heel gimmick, but also it, shows more control. Like, hey, I told you we run this show. We're going to do this on my time. So bits like that is cool and it makes sense. But overall, the storyline has just not been good. But this sets up the White Six versus the MFTs next week for the Tag Team Championships. I don't know which two it's going to be from the MFTs. They didn't say. I don't think they put up a match graphic even. And if they do put up a match graphic, they're probably going to show both full teams or something like that. They're probably going to show Gacy and Loomis, but then they're going to show the entire team of MFTs. Like, oh, who's going to be the two type of thing. I wonder if it's just going to end up being Tala Tonga and JC Mateo. Since Tama Tonga is going to go for the United States Championship at some point, maybe. And Tongaloa is just there. He's just there. Backstage, Rhea Ripley approached Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss while Alexa Bliss was getting ready for her match with Lash Legend that happened later on in the night. Rhea Ripley says that her and Io Sky are next in line for those tag titles. And Alexa Bliss tells her pretty much what she's told her already, that she's not going to step aside for anybody. And they have this like awkward stare. We're like, oh, good luck with your match tonight. You too. And then they just stare and like smile at each other or whatever. A lot of tension in this room, and not wrestling tension, I felt. But this was weird. This was useless. It was pointless. And this was just another segment to fill time, because clearly they didn't have any other plans other than, we're going to promote John Cena heavy on the show because tomorrow is his retirement match. And that's completely fine. But when you make that half of your show, it's not, because you still have a weekly episodic show to run. And this was just another time filler that I could have done without. It didn't matter for me. But that led us into Lash Legend defeating Alexa Bliss in a one-on-one match. Again, this match was nothing really. They're probably going to post the entire match bell to bell on the YouTube channel because of how short this match was. It was mainly just a squash match. It was mainly just Lash Legend squashing Alexa Bliss. That's what I got from this, because Alexa Bliss didn't really get any shine in this match. She got a few moves in, but that was really it. So she goes from beating Kairi Sane last week to just getting demolished by Lash Legend this week. And I completely understand that we are building Lash Legend to be a powerhouse and a up-and-coming powerhouse in the women's division, and that's fine. But when you have someone as tenured as Alexa Bliss and just have her lose like this just drains any credibility or, realism of her and Charlotte Flair chasing the tag titles. And I don't know if they were low on time and they just cut the match short, or what the case was. Whatever it was, it didn't turn out good. So this match is, if you missed SmackDown, this match is definitely a match you could just skip over because it really didn't mean anything. Backstage, Kathy Kelly catches up with Zelina Vega and Aleister Black. She asked them about the match tonight between Black and Zelina versus the Terror Twins. And Zelina Vega pretty much says it doesn't matter if Damian Priest has Rhea Ripley. his fate is going to be the same anyway. And Aleister Black follows that up by saying, if Damian Priest wants to drag his friends down to hell with him, that's fine by me. So just a cryptic message from Black and Zelina Vega here. Again, nothing too special. And like, I'm not saying every backstage segment has to be special. I'm not just sitting up here to complain about things just to complain about them. But when you have countless segments over and over again and week to week that just mean nothing, then what's the point? What's the point in it? Like the Rhea and Alexa thing, it was pointless because we literally saw that in ring segment on Monday Night Raw, and they just reiterated it backstage. But that was that. That led us to Javon Evans defeating The Miz in a really solid match. The Miz I don't even know what I said. I completely misspoke there. The Miz made Javon Evans look good, but Javon Evans can look good by himself anyway. Miz just helped out a little bit. He hit a springboard crossbody at one point, which he's been doing a lot more often. So yeah, fun match. This was fun. Javon Evans is always fun. I think it's hard to get a bad Javon Evans match just because of the things he does in every single match, whether he flies or hits a big move. And obviously the OG cutter is absolutely gorgeous the way he does it. So yeah, this was fun. Javon Evans gets a big win. Obviously they made it as Javon Evans' biggest win in his entire career. And, it is his biggest win in his entire career. So, Javon Evans gets a big win over The Miz. Fun stuff there. Backstage, Nia Jax and Lash Legend approach Rhea Ripley and tell them pretty much what we've been hearing all week and all night, that they want the tag titles more. Rhea Ripley says, her and Io will take the tag titles when they want to. And that was a segment. And Rhea Ripley just says, she asked Nia Jax, does she need to remind her of how dangerous she is, or something along those lines? And Nia and Lash just walk away because somebody threatens you and you just walk away. That's what you're taught in school, right? I'm not sure if that actually applies to the WWE, but sure, whatever. Damian Priest approaches Rhea Ripley afterwards and just hypes her up for the match. Pretty much says, bring that same attitude into the match later tonight. And Rhea Ripley says, you bet. And then we have a stare down between Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill backstage. So it seems like Rhea Ripley is going to be officially moving to SmackDown. And it seems like maybe Rhea versus Jade is the plan for WrestleMania, potentially, unless Bianca comes back and Rhea is the Rumble plan, because they want to have Charlotte and Alexa continue their tag title stuff, because they did tease Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair at one point, but, Charlotte is busy in the tag division with Alexa Bliss. So it seems like she's going to be sticking around that for a while, and maybe we build to Rhea and Jade Cargill. Maybe Rhea wins the Royal Rumble again. Who knows? And she goes on to WrestleMania to face Jade, or maybe, WWE loves doing triple threats, so maybe they end up doing a triple threat with Rhea, Bianca, and Jade. Who knows? I don't know which route they're gonna take, but we did get a stare down between Rhea and Jade here. We were supposed to be set up for a match, apparently, between Jade Cargill and Michin. Jade Cargill was not dressed at all to compete. She just had regular clothes on. She didn't have ring gear on. So she attacks Michin backstage while she's hyping herself up and coming down to the ring, attacks her backstage, and then makes her way out to the ring and says, what I just did to Michin right there is why I am that bitch. Michin's music hits, and she comes out with a kendo stick. She gets a few shots in with the kendo stick on Jade Cargill until Jade Cargill just gets the upper hand, hits her with a choke slam, and that's the segment. So I don't care. I really don't care. They haven't given me a reason to care about this. And this title reign is just not off to a good start because you don't have anybody on this SmackDown roster to challenge Jade Cargill. And sure, maybe that's why you're moving Rhea Ripley over, but you have Jade Cargill feuding with Michin and BFAB. And again, this is no knock at Michin or anything, but you haven't given us a reason to believe in Michin. You haven't given us a reason to think that Michin is actually a threat because they just proved tonight that she is not, because she just got her ass whooped twice in a night by Jade Cargill. So this is clearly a thing for Jade Cargill to do in the meantime while they figure out what it is they want to do with her. And I don't understand putting a title on somebody when you don't have a plan for them afterwards. Because sure, the moment can be cool. I didn't really care for the moment of Jade Cargill winning the title because we all knew it was going to happen. But sure, but you have to plan what you're going to do after that. And clearly they did not. So not good stuff here. I could care less, honestly. But that then took us to the main event of the evening, which was Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley defeating Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. This match wasn't it. It was fine. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. This was as standard as a mixed tag team match can get, to be honest with you. You'll probably pull most matches out of the mixed match challenge that they had a few years ago, and it'll be very similar to what this match was. There wasn't anything special here. There wasn't really. I got nothing from this match, and I don't think it did anything good for any four of these people. Damian Priest is not going to be elevated to, mid-card scene or a world title scene after this. He's probably still going to continue the feud with Aleister Black. Zelina Vega is just going to be with Aleister, and that's completely fine, especially if that's something that she wants to do. And Rhea Ripley just seems like she's going to be set up for a feud with Jade Cargill in the future. So again, this means nothing. This really means nothing. If you're going to continue this feud with Priest and Black, what was the point in adding Rhea Ripley? There really was no point in adding her to this. And it's really bad. It sucks that, you have four very talented people just doing nothing. And sure, nothing is a bit extra, but nothing of significance. And having a stare down with the women's champion doesn't really matter because you had Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair have a stare down, and then you changed your mind and said, no, we want to keep her with Alexa, which is fine because I like Charlotte and Alexa, but they change their minds so often because they don't know what they want to do. And that is one of the most frustrating things with this company that I have complained about for years, even before I did this podcast. And, now that I do have this podcast, I'm going to continue to complain about it because it's something that they continue to do. SmackDown has just been consistently bad. You don't have the depth on this SmackDown roster, and you need to add some more. Get Javon Evans on the main roster, man. Get him on the main roster. If you're not going to give him a title down in NXT, just call him up to the main roster. Let him have some banger matches. Let him win the U.S. title or something. And then eventually you got to call Femi up to the main roster, and then you got to deepen this women's division. I think that should be the first priority, if anything. Deepen this women's division on the SmackDown roster, because whatever is going on with this women's division on SmackDown is god awful. And I get less entertained every single week seeing the same 3 people or 4 people every single week. And all of a sudden, by the way, Kiana James and Julia disappear. They weren't on this episode of SmackDown. And again, It's because they have no plans for them. The Women's United States Champion, Chelsea Green, wasn't on this show. And so, like, I feel like they have the resources. Like, you have Alba Fire. People don't understand how good Alba Fire actually is when she was Kaylee Ray. Chelsea Green, we know what Chelsea Green can do. You have her in a backstage segment even on a week, and she'll do the best she can in that backstage segment. Like Michin is actually a good wrestler. They just seem to not treat her that way and treat her more as of a joke and just somebody to put other talent over. And that's unfortunate because I think she is really talented and could benefit from even a mid-card title. Maybe not the world title, but a mid-card title she could benefit from if she's given the right push. But you haven't put her in that position. And BFAB, I just don't think is good. I don't think BFAB is good in the ring. So you need to deepen this SmackDown Women's Division because whatever's going on here is not good. But that is WWE SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown on December 12th, 2025. As always, I encourage you guys to drop your comments down below what you thought about this show. So let me know down in the comments, or you can let me know on the things that I mentioned earlier in this podcast, whether it be the Discord server, my TikTok, the Kayfabe Central website. There's a plethora of different ways for you to let me know your opinion. So make sure you guys take advantage of all those things. Those are all linked down in the description. I know a couple people popped in and out of the live, so I appreciate that. I'll keep going live for these post shows as much as I can. I'll go live for the Saturday night's main event post show tomorrow, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about these lives and this setup. I am going to try my best to have a much better setup and play around with OBS a little bit because it is very confusing at first when you first get it. So I'm still playing around with that, still learning it, and how certain things work and how to work it and whatever. So bear with me on that, but I will have a much better setup at some point in time. But as of right now, I'll just keep going live on YouTube Studio. So yeah, make sure you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments once again. I will be back tomorrow with the Saturday night's main event post-show review. So keep your notifications on, hit that bell so you're up to date when that goes live. So yeah, I will see you guys on the post-show for Saturday night's main event tomorrow. And until then, take it easy.